I hope you enjoyed our discussion with Stockard Channing. Congratulations again to Stockard for her Oscar nomination for her portrayal of Wisa Kittredge. In 1959, a promising young man stepped onto the Broadway stage as Lancelot in the Lerner and Loewe musical Camelot. Now, some 40 years later, Robert Goulet is still bringing audiences to their feet, again in Camelot, but this time in the role of King Arthur.
How to handle a woman. Mark me well, I will tell you, sir, the way to handle a woman is to love her. Simply love her. Merely love her. Love her. Love her.
Robert, Arthur represents a rite of passage for you, much like your tenure in Camelot over the years, hasn't it?
I guess so, yeah.
From youth to wisdom.
Well, that's what Arthur encompasses, his youthful nervousness. And first of all, he pulled the sword out of the stone and said, whoops, they started to yell, you know, God save the king. And he said, that's how I became king. I didn't want to be king. And he's saying this to his new queen-to-be. And he was very nervous about meeting her until he came from behind the tree and looked at her and said, then he realized for the first time he felt he was king. Felt he was king. He was glad to be king. And then slowly he evolves. You see him a few years later, and he finds the reason for civilization, and he forms the round table. Then, of course, the civilization starts, as we know it, in that fable. Goes on from there to his betrayal by Lancelot, and then hope at the end of the show when the little boy comes out and says, I know all the rules of the game, why the round table was. And so Arthur says, who cares about my personal despondency and my pain? He says, our thoughts and our dreams and our hopes will go on. And that's one of the reasons why the musical is a perennial. When you were doing Lancelot, first Broadway show, did it ever occur to you that someday you would be doing the most complex role in the show? That somewhere, at some never in a billion
Arthur?
years. I was very happy. I was playing, as far as I was concerned, a very complex role in Lancelot. But to play the part of King Arthur, no, that belonged to people like Richard Burton.
I love them, and they answer me again with pain and torment. Be it sin or not sin, they betray me in their hearts, and that's far sin enough. I see it in their eyes and feel it when they speak, and they must pay for it and be punished. I shan't be wounded and not return it in kind. I'm done with feeble hoping. I demand a man's vengeance. Proposition. I am a king, not a man, and a civilized king. Could it possibly be civilized to destroy what I love? Could it possibly be civilized to love myself above all? What of their pain and their torment? Did I ask for this calamity? Can passion be selected? Is there any doubt of their devotion to me or to our table? By God, Excalibur, we shall be a king. This is the time of King Arthur, and we reach for the stars. This is the time of King Arthur, and violence is not strength, and compassion is not weakness. We are civilized, resolved, and we shall live through this together, Excalibur. They, you, and I. And God, have mercy on us all.
One of the reasons I think Camelot has endured is the fact that it has all these epic overtones. It's this whole struggle of passion versus reason. And we can easily see through history how all the great ones have fallen. And if they have indeed, Othello, Anthony, it's been this struggle that they have with having to control their own passion.
Why is that?
I don't know.
Why can't we control us? I mean, look what's happening to Clinton.
I know. Or John Kennedy.
Or Nixon with his passion.
That's true. I mean, it's this inability to control this sense that we have. That,
I guess it's because we're humans, we're frail. Not all of us can be saints.
There's so many different truisms throughout the course of this play. One in particular that I think is so unique is that happiness is a virtue. And that no matter how hard we try, if we're not imbued with this spirit, it'll never come.
When you look at people through life, I remember seeing a parish priest in Edmonton, Alberta. Jolly, bald-headed man, but could be stern when he gave his sermons. But he was always smiling. He always had like a jolly old Saint Nick, you know, just always smiling. And I think it's also a truism that if you go through life with that sort of a feeling, don't let the beggars get you down, is the answer. And keep smiling through all of your problems, and we all have problems. You'll come out the better for it in the end. You'll get across that rough water edge and get into the calm area. Whereas the people who just let it just tumble upon them and spear them, they suffer a lot more, don't they?
How many plays can you actually say have beautiful music, they have an engaging story, they have a bit of the supernatural, and at the same time, they're a civics lesson?
Ooh, well, you're adding that's a difficult one.
Not many
that's
plays
complex.
can boast that.
No, I guess not. You know, I was thinking of Carousel for a minute there, and South Pacific, but a civics lesson, no, I don't think you can boast that.
It's probably one of the few opportunities that we get if we haven't read about the Legend of Arthur to get it really in a whole capsulized version.
That's why I say it's when I'm being interviewed like this to the audience, to the mothers and fathers, bring the kids. Let the kids come and see this piece. It's good for them. It's theater. I've had letters from people across the country saying we dragged our 12-year-old, we dragged our 14-year-olds to the theater because they know rock and they know rap. And then they said after they saw the spectacle that goes on that stage, and it's live. I mean, it's not something they see in a little box. It's right there live in front of them. Any mishaps are there for them to see. They go home in awe, and they become theater folks, which is.
I was looking at some of your other Broadway credentials, and I couldn't help but remember On a Clear Day and how big that was for you. Not just because the show was very successful, but because this song turned into a hit song for you, as well as the show success. Yeah,
I didn't do the show on Broadway. I did it on tour for quite some time. I think John Cullum did it on Broadway. But I recorded it, and it became one of my songs, like My Love, Forgive Me, On a Clear Day, and If Ever I Would Leave You were like my perennial songs, so to speak.
Yeah. You had touched on Carousel, and I couldn't help but wonder if Soliloquy wouldn't rank at the top of the most challenging pieces you've ever had to do on stage.
Soliloquy and Lush Life. And a lot of people out in the audience will not know what Lush Life is. It's one of the toughest but most glorious, I guess, a jazz song that you can think of singing. Joe Williams heard me sing it once, and I didn't know he was in the audience, but I said, thank goodness I didn't know you were there. I would have been nervous. You get all the notes right, he said. But the Soliloquy is a beautiful piece. And I loved doing Carousel when I did Carousel. It's coming back to Broadway this coming year, I believe. And I wish the heck I was young enough to play that role, but too late now.
Oh, you're not old enough to play that. You're
no.
not. Most people who would see you on stage and in person would never be able to tell that you happily just celebrated your 60th birthday.
Yeah, and I don't feel a day older than 58.
When you came to New York and you decided that you wanted to be an actor, there was this, you brought along some very positive baggage. It's always been said that young boys try to please their fathers. And if for some reason they haven't been able to do so, they'll strive all their lives, even after the passing of their father. But you got some wonderful feedback from your father at a very young age. And that kind of endorsement that he gave you was kind of like the little launching pad for you.
It wasn't so much an endorsement. My father was ill most of the time that I was alive with him. So he never took me to a ball game. He never sat down and read poetry to me. He was a very stoic, conservative individual. And we never had much dialogue going with us at any time. He was ill and dying. And I didn't know this. I'd sung once at a family gathering when I was about 4 or 5 years old. I would never do it again because it frightened me. They asked me to, and I said, no, I don't feel like it. When I was 11, the nuns grabbed me by the hair and said, you're going to sing a song? And I said, no, I'm not. They said, yes, you are. And of course, when they say, yes, you are, you So I sang it, and my father came down from the balcony and just held me, and he had a tear in his eye. And he said, I'm very proud of you, my son. Well, that meant something to me. It meant a lot to me. About 6 months later, we were in the hospital saying hello to him, or goodbye to him. And as we left the room, nobody told me he was deathly ill. They told me he was sick. He called me back to his side and he said, Robert. I said, yeah, Dad. He said, God gave you a voice. You must sing. And I said, okay, Dad. And I left and he died that night. So that was like an edict. It was like an order from on high. I never wanted to sing. I never wanted to go into this business. I was always like, you know, the third in my class, I was going to go on to be a doctor, a lawyer. I might even be Prime Minister of Canada today, who knows? Or Vice President of the United States.
Could be.
You go to a lot of funerals.
You have, it has been said, one of the most unique voices in the history of stage. It's a crossover between operatic and show, and has put you in wonderful stead when it came to recording as well as doing stage work. Was that easily recognizable from the outset that this was a very unique sound?
Well, I never knew that I had a unique sound. It never occurred to me. I just sang. I was lucky enough to get a good singing teacher after I received a scholarship to study music at the Conservatory of Music in Toronto. The first year I was there, I had a teacher who just sang along with me, told me jokes for the first 15 minutes, and then sang along with me whatever I was doing, an oratorio aria or an operatic aria. And he would listen to what was going on. I'd go into the coffee shop and talk to my peers, and they'd say, yeah, but you see, you don't know how to, and you don't know how to, and you don't do this. And I'm saying, what is that? So I'd go back to my teacher and I'd say, excuse me, but a couple of the guys were saying that I don't know how to do this. I said, should I try it? He said, yeah, try it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, try it, but he didn't tell me how to use it, to find it. So I said to him at the beginning of the next year, when my scholarship was renewed, that I was going to take lessons from the teacher that I liked the sounds of some of the guys, and I wanted to go to their teacher. And he was a dermatologist turned into a singing teacher, Dr. Ernesto Vinci, big tummy on him. So I was with him for 4 months. He later told me, he said that he lost his temper only twice in all the years he was teaching, both times with me. On the last day of my lessons with him, I said, Dr. Vinci, and he's at the piano, just give me the scales. I said, I still can't get this into my head, what I have to do, I said, all right, you sing for me a scale, how you think I sound, and then sing for me how you think I should sound. And he went, you go, ah, and you go, ah, and I said, is that it? Thank you, and I walked out and never had another lesson. But I needed that in my thick skull to sink in.
Where once it never rained till after sundown, by 8 a.m. the morning fog had flown. Don't let it be forgot that once there was a spot for one brief shining moment that was known as Camelot.
Thank you for joining us on National Arts. I hope you enjoyed meeting our superstars, Stockard Channing and Robert Goulet. Until next time, remember, art was meant to be appreciated, so you be a part of it.